This comparative study focuses on the perspective of adolescents in situations of marginalization and poverty. As these films are in the slice of life genre, they are able to properly capture the lives these people live without over-dramatization. Because director Sean Baker's The Florida Project and director Hirokazu Koreeda's Shoplifters mostly follows the children in the narrative, you are able to see the world they live in through their perspective and how they experience the eventual separation from their families.
Baker's The Florida Project is an all-too-common story of a single mother and her daughter on the edge of the social ladder in Kissimmee, Florida. The film follows Mooney as she runs around Kissimmee by all the places a tourist would see on their way to Disney World, and Haley as she struggles to find money for her and her daughter to survive.
1, I see you dressed in PJs all day, every day.
Am I wearing PJs now?
2, if you're working, who's looking after me?
Haley's annoyed and standoffish reaction shows her money likely isn't coming from reliable or legal places, and that she doesn't want to admit to anyone, especially herself, that she's putting Mooney in danger with her actions. Bobby's exasperation with Mooney and Haley is seen when he has to talk to Haley about one of the things Mooney and her friends did to entertain themselves while being left to play without any type of adult supervision. This is one of the first times of many in the film Bobby has to talk to them about a complaint someone has against either of them for something reckless that they did. But you can also see how Bobby cares for his tenants as he runs a child predator off the property and away from the children playing in the yard, showing that he doesn't just want their money. Koreeda's Shoplifters shows the young boy Shota and the adult man Osamu walking home as Shota realizes he forgot the shampoo. Osamu says it's too cold and they'll get it next time. Obviously, stealing is a regular activity like playing board games or going for long drives might be for some other family. Especially when Yuri and Shota steal from a local shop, it shows how common stealing is in the family, even among the children. He teaches her, showing that Shota doesn't think of stealing as bad and is likely proud of his skill in shoplifting. The narrative becomes more troublesome when you realize that the family is not actually related, nor has the young boy accepted Osamu as his temporary father. It shows that there is something more going on than just a family struggling to survive. The darkness you see in the van shows the darkness of the scene because it becomes clear that the crimes are more than just shoplifting, and that Shota has also likely been taken from his family, much like Yuri. The way Nobuyo is gossiping about the family across the street shows her overall jealousy and longing for a family of her own. This is likely why she didn't return the children she and her husband found and made a family of her own with the other characters in the film. For the most part, the characters have a small societal impact because of how they have been shunned from society. However, the children in both narratives don't seem to mind and are content with their place, which makes it especially hard for them to have to be reinserted into society at the end of these films.
Thank you. No, thank you. This will make you handsome. Actually, sir.
In the Florida Project, Haley brings Mooney along with her to sell perfumes, effectively teaching Mooney to do similar things, and mostly she hangs around treating her daughter as a fellow delinquent because she is basically a child herself, which is seen later at the ice cream shop when Mooney is asking all of the customers for money to get her and her friends ice cream. This scene is also similar because they both get caught and asked to leave the premises after doing this multiple times.
Excuse me, miss. Could you give us some change, please? We need to buy ice cream. Because we don't have any money, we just have 5 cents. Yeah, we just have 5 cents. And the doctor said we have...
Because it is summer, Mooney and her friends are often left alone to entertain themselves, and they explore many places. Only Mooney's summer break plays out in the shadow of severe economic hardship. When Mooney is home at night and Haley begins to sell her body with Mooney still in the hotel room, what she thought would help them stay together in the Magic Castle Inn leads to their eventual separation because she is endangering Mooney and the DCF steps in, showing how the Florida Project highlights how legal and societal systems perpetuate poverty. Before the family is separated, they hitchhike to an empty parking lot to see the theme park fireworks for Yancey's birthday, which shows the reality of how close they are to the theme parks that are considered magical for so many. Instances of parents involving their children in their crimes are also seen in Shoplifter, where you can see Osamu and Shota stealing together. They've done this before, they will do this again, and doing this brings them somewhat closer to each other, even if it's illegal. This sets up for the viewer to see Shota and Yuri stealing small trinkets from the same shop on a different day when Osamu isn't there, like when Mooney asks the customers for money. because all of the adults except for grandmother work and the children go out on their own to explore, which touches on how Coretta expertly shows the loneliness of not belonging to anyone and the messiness of sticking together, which is similar to the Florida Project and how the children are mostly alone. In Shoplifters, the couple deciding not to return Yuri to her parents is similar to when Haley decides to make an ad to sell her body, because both of these decisions lead to the eventual separations of the families from their children. Similarly to the Florida Project, the train trip shown acts as one of the last times the family is happy together, because shortly after the grandmother dies and the police find Yuri with the family. The Florida Project is a brighter film both in tone and lighting. The children are younger and therefore more innocent than the children of Shoplifters, and oftentimes the scenes take place in a bright summer day as you follow the children, while in Shoplifters the scenes are often at night when the family is all back together.
The films also differ in their sense of community because all the residents of the Magic Castle Inn are in similar situations and able to relate to one another, while the family from Shoplifters only have one another and no one else is shown to be in the same situation as them. The situations seem to differ so much because Shoplifters is a much darker film than the Florida Project, as in many instances the adults of Shoplifters are committing much more severe crimes than Haley, and it especially seems darker because their lack of friends and how they are ostracized from society. But they also show Yuri for the first time in her life the value of familial connection. The shaky camera work shown represents the instability of the lives of the families because of their living situations.
Hi. Could Dickie come out of play?
After what you guys pulled, he's punished for a week.
As you can see in the sequence, the cuts are also very quick and abrupt, which represents how unexpected their day-to-day can be with a lack of routine. However, when Mooney and her mother are walking into the hotel to where the free breakfast is, there are minimal cuts and the camera is very steady, showing that they are very calm, and this might be a very common thing for them to do around the local hotels. Most of the lighting in the film is natural sunlight because the children are outside for a lot of the film, which gives it a more bright feel, because every building in their neighborhood has been licked in brilliant Disney copycat candy shades, violets and oranges and pinks that pop on screen. However, when the children are inside, the lighting is much darker, which shows the darkness the adults have around them compared to when the children are just by themselves exploring. And you see an unpatronizing look at life on the margins told from a child-eye view without ignoring the bleak reality she faces. The cinematography in Shoplifters is very different, with steady tracking shots or static shots that a character moves into, which makes it seem like you're watching the characters from afar, rather than following them, because Coretta doesn't judge his characters. He presents them with humane gaze and reveals their relationships with an unhurried gentleness. Even in the scenes during the day, most of the time the characters are inside, so the light is filtered and not very bright. The family is getting ready in the dark to leave Shota behind at the hospital. The fact that they are getting ready in the dark reflects the darkness of their actions. This scene shows that the memories of the family and how the song the grandmother taught her are a light to her in an otherwise dark and abusive household. While the storylines of the films are very similar and cover very similar topics, both films are made in very different ways that are reflective of their respective cultures. These scenes show how the children are beginning to move on from their time with the family, while also taking pieces of the family with them. Very differently from Shoplifters, the Florida Project shows Mooney unwilling to face change while she and her friend run away to Disney World, which has been right by them the whole time but always very far out of reach. The slice of life genre is able to accurately portray these stories by taking a step back and having the viewer just watch the storyline play out. While the techniques of making these films are very different, they both help to convey the harsh reality that marginalized people face.